20-year-old Carla Patino is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old DeAsia Martin, for keying her Chevy Metro. Carla says DeAsia is jealous and angry.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 314 on the calendar in the matter of Patino versus Martin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Patino, the defendant is your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
And each of you, in the exercise of what I'm sure is excellent judgment, each had a child with him.
Yes.
Right? Stand up next to her. It is your claim that Miss Martin, who's jealous and annoyed because you were fooling around with the boyfriend while he was with her, vandalized your car. Miss Martin says she's not jealous, she's very happy to be rid of him, and she never vandalized your car.
That's right.
So let's find out. What's your name?
Daniel Ayala.
How old are you, Mr. Ayala?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an assistant manager at a grocery store.
For how long?
Been with the company, it's going to be 6 years in November.
And how much money do you earn a year?
Between 30 and 35.
And how many children do you have?
2.
With Miss Martin, you have one child. How old is that child?
He's 2.
Pay child support for him?
Not through the course, just I just give her money every week when I get paid.
How much do you give her every week?
She asked me for $40 a week, so I give her $40 a week.
So you give her $40 every week, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Who do you live with now?
I live at home and I also stay with her.
What do you mean you live at home and stay with her? What does that mean?
I stay at my mother's house and
How often do you stay at your mother's house?
probably like 2 nights a week.
And you stay with her?
Yes.
Where do you pay rent?
We give her mother money for rent.
Who's we?
Me and Carla.
Give who money for rent?
Her mother.
Oh, so you live with her mother?
Yes.
How much do you pay rent?
She gives her $200 a week. I mean, what, a month?
Mm-hmm.
$200 a month.
And you?
Well, I give her $60 a week.
You give her $60 a week?
Yes.
For what?
Just so I could give her money.
You understand that if you give Miss Martin $40 a week, which she's going to tell me you don't give her all the time, is that right?
No, I don't give it to her anymore.
Right?
Right.
Right. But if you did, that would be $5.74 a day. You look like you are a pretty good eater, Mr. Ayala. Can you eat on $5.74 a day?
Sometimes.
Really? Tell me where. Tell me where you
Fair
eat.
Play Foods Deli.
What?
My grocery store is deli.
Oh, because you get the food for nothing.
Pretty much.
Now, Miss Martin, did you vandalize Miss Patino's car?
No, I did not.
Miss Patino, how was your car vandalized and when?
Okay. It happened on Tuesday, October the 3rd this year. When I got out from work at 9 o'clock, I went to my car and I saw scratches around the car and 4 flat tires. But what happened was that she went to my job the same day around the time 6 and 6:30
Where do you work?
at a grocery store.
Same grocery store he does?
No, I work at Markham.
So she came to your grocery store. Don't move back and forth. You know what you just did? Showed me attitude.
Oh,
Right?
I'm sorry. I was just
Don't show me
moving.
attitude. Only one attitude here.
I know. That's right.
Go ahead. So she came to your grocery store.
Yes, she went to my register and she was talking to her friend, and then she received a call, and it was from my boyfriend, and she...
What did you call her for?
Because she called me. I was at work and she called me. I couldn't get to the phone. So I just called her back whenever I could, like 5 minutes later.
What was the purpose of the call?
Because right now my son is in Mexico with his parents for 2 months, and the only way I can get through with him is by him calling and translating for me, which he stopped all of that, so I haven't talked to my son at all because he won't call for me.
What is your son doing in Mexico?
He went to go visit his great-grandparents with his grandmother
And when do they do back?
next week.
It was very nice of you to let him go.
I know, and this is the things I get.
It was very nice of her to let him go.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to do it.
But she did.
I'm very thankful.
Very nice, because she had to sign a paper
Okay.
allowing him to go, because in Mexico they have those laws that don't permit you to take a baby or a child unless
Right.
both parents go. So she had to sign to let him go. Did you sign with the date that they had to return? What was the date they had to return?
November 10th.
And it says so in the paper that you signed. Is that right?
Yes, either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after.
November 10th.
Right.
Okay. Good. When are your parents due home?
November 10th.
They are coming home, aren't they?
Yeah.
What?
Yes would be the answer.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so she came to your register. There was a phone call. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she was talking on the phone, and I heard when she asked him, "What are you doing after work?" And she said, "Oh, you're picking up your little girl." So when she hung up the phone, her friend asked her what he's doing, so I thought, she's talking to him. And then her friend asked her, "Oh, I can't wait for you to have that baby."
What baby?
I think she's pregnant. I don't know.
You pregnant?
No.
Go ahead, let's go.
Okay, she said, "I'm going to abort it." And when she was leaving my register, she told me, "Don't tell Danny my business." And I turned around and told her, "I don't care about your business." And then when she was leaving, she started cursing at me, threatening me that she was going to come back at 10 to find me. So,
Okay, and then you went outside and found your car damaged.
yes, and when I got off from work at 9 o'clock, I went to my car and I saw all scratches around the car and 4 flat tires. I called the police, they came, and then my boyfriend received a call from her admitting it that she did damage
Did you
my car.
receive a call from her?
I actually called her. She didn't answer, and then she called back.
And what was the conversation? Shh, don't speak. What was the conversation?
The conversation was...
Look at me.
The conversation was just like...
Look at me.
Like, whoa, like, did you do anything to Carla's car? And then she's like, no, I didn't do anything to her car. And then I'm like, did you flatten all her 4 tires and scratch all her car? She's like, I didn't do anything. And then she just started being very boisterous and just saying a bunch of stuff I couldn't even understand. And then she was just like, you're lucky I didn't bust all her windows too. And I was just like, wow. And then she just hung up, and I kept trying to call back, like, Deasia, what's the big deal? What happened? What is going on?
And
she just wouldn't answer. I even left the messages like, how could you do this? It's just childish.
did you speak to her?
Yes, I called her and asked her why did she damage my car when I have never done nothing to her. And then she said, you know what, I'm tired of you. You have everything. I'm just sick and tired of you. And you're lucky.
No, say nothing until I ask you. I'm going to give you a chance.
And you're
Go ahead.
lucky I didn't pop your windows too. And then she started screaming and arguing, and I couldn't understand her, so I hung up the phone on her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just so happens that you ended up at her register of the 7 registers that are in the
Because
supermarket.
her register was the only one that didn't have a lot of stuff there.
Baloney!
And later today,
She had asked me if I wanted to take a TV, and I told her yes.
Well, who was supposed to pay for it?
I assumed it was going to be a gift.
In the midst of this hostile situation, you thought that she made you a $4,000 gift.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carla Patino claims her boyfriend's ex, Deasia Martin, vandalized her car by keying it.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Miss Martin.
We went to her job, not knowing if she was working or not. Don't know her schedule. Don't know what time she'd be there.
Where do you live?
I live in Chicago on 16th in Michigan.
And how far is that from where Miss Patino works?
It say 15 minutes.
Now, you and I both know that there, between where you live and where she works, there are other grocery stores where you can shop.
Right, but also...
So I want to know, first thing, why you went to her grocery store. I don't care whether she was working there or not, whether you knew she was working there or not. I want you to explain to me what you were doing in her grocery store.
My friend came and picked me up from work. Actually, I work in Homewood at Taco Bell, and my friend came and picked me up, and she stays in that area. I was with her grocery shopping, and then we went to Fair Play and went shopping. We didn't go up there to start anything.
Just a second, Miss Martin. Let's go back. You knew that Miss Patino worked in that Fair Play.
Right.
How big a supermarket is it?
How big is it?
Yeah.
It's like a normal supermarket.
Big supermarket?
Right.
How many registers are there?
There are 7 registers.
So you went to her supermarket, and just so happens that you ended up at her register of the 7 registers that are in the
Because
supermarket.
her register was the only one that didn't have a lot of stuff there, and we only had a couple of things.
Baloney!
It's not
But
baloney.
listen to me. Baloney. Chicago is a big place. I want you to understand something. When something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And if I weren't looking for trouble, I would not go out of my way to go shopping at a pay attention, put on your listening ears before you start with the attitude.
Go ahead.
I would not go to a supermarket where my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend works to go shopping. I would say to my girlfriend, who was going shopping with me, I don't want to go to that Fair Play. That's where Danny's girlfriend works. I don't want to go there because, we don't get along. I want to go someplace else. And if you want to go to Fair Play, drop me off first. But you didn't say that. First you went shopping, and it wasn't a big shopping, because you really didn't need a lot of stuff, because according to you, you chose her register because all you had was a few things. So it wasn't that you were doing a week's worth of grocery shopping and this was the only game in town. And of the 7 registers, you chose her register. Bad form, madam. You get me?
I got you.
Bad form. Now you're going to tell me that you never said to Danny or to her, "You're lucky I didn't pop your windows out." You're going to tell me that you said that.
I didn't say that.
Right. And you're going to tell me that you didn't do her flattened tires.
No, I did not.
Well, either you did or your girlfriend did.
I don't know who did.
Well, but you're going to pay for it. So you better try to figure out.
Something that
You
I did
better
not do.
absolutely did it.
I didn't
Because
do it.
if somebody is dumb enough, don't speak when I'm speaking. Don't speak when I'm speaking. If somebody's dumb enough, if somebody, hey, you see my mouth moving? If somebody is dumb enough in all the supermarkets in Chicago to pick hers, and if somebody is dumb enough of all the registers available to go to her register, then they are dumb enough to take a car that was parked without flat tires several hours before and flatten the tires and scratch the car. And if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. How much did it cost you for the tires?
I have paid for it. It was $2.80 and 11 cents.
And how much did it cost you to fix the scratches on the car?
The scratches, I haven't fixed them. I just got an estimate.
And what was the estimate?
The 2 estimate.
The lowest one.
$2,127.90.
And what kind of car do you have?
I have 2000 Chevrolet Metro.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For her to have low self-esteem and let him put everything in her head
She knows that I'm doing good in life, and she's not, and she's jealous.
and make it seem like I'm jealous of him, which I don't want him.
Because, you know, my boyfriend, he's with me because he decided to be with me.
And if I did, I can have him, and I'm being nice enough and giving him up.
Joan Ledbetter is suing the mother of her grandchildren, Jacqueline Snowden, for the return of money she paid for a Pontiac Sunfire. Joan says Jacqueline refuses to give her the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 531 on the calendar in the matter of Ledbetter versus Snowden.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Ledbetter, according to your complaint, the defendant is the former girlfriend of your son.
Correct.
They have 2 children together, although they are not married. It is your claim that you purchased a car from her and paid for it. She didn't deliver the car to you, and you want your money back.
Correct.
The defendant says that you never purchased a car from her, that you gave her some money to buy the children Christmas presents because she didn't have any money, and you're their grandmother and you wanted them to have a nice Christmas. So I need some background information. When did you allegedly purchase this car?
The checks were written on the 9th day of December.
December 9th, 2006.
Correct.
And where was Miss Snowden living in December of 2006?
I believe at that time she had already moved out of my home and was living back at her house.
Is that correct?
Which is at her parents'.
No, that is not correct.
When did you move out of the plaintiff's house back into your parents' house?
It was more towards the end of December.
Okay. And while she was living with your son at your house, how many cars did they have?
She had the Pontiac Sunbird, which is the one that...
So he did not own a car, so the only car that she had was the Sunbird.
Correct.
Did Miss Snowden work while she was living at your house?
Yeah, she worked at...
Oh, fine. Where were you working?
The first time I was working at Tumbleweed for over a year, and then...
Tumbleweed is what?
It's a restaurant.
What were you doing?
I was a cashier.
And who watched the children when you were working?
My mother did.
In December of 2006, where were you working?
Pep Boys.
How many days a week?
It depends, sometimes 5, sometimes 6.
And how would you get to work?
My vehicle.
The Sunbird?
The Sunfire. It's a Sunfire.
Sunfire. And what was your boyfriend doing at that time?
He was unemployed.
For how much of the year previous in 2006 was he unemployed?
Most of the year. Ever since our first child was born, even when I was dating him before the children was born, he hasn't had a job.
Why not?
Because his mother helps him out.
Why wasn't he working?
Because I've enabled him, because
Okay,
both
that's
of them
enough.
have... Okay.
Don't say any more.
Okay.
So she was the one who was working.
Yes.
And what would he do all day?
I don't know. I was working also. So what he
Well,
was
the
doing
children
for sure,
were
I
being
don't know.
taken care of by her mother.
Correct.
While she was working.
Correct.
Your son wasn't working.
Correct.
So why wasn't he taking care of his children?
I don't know. He didn't want to. He didn't have the patience to take care of his children.
All right, Miss Ledbetter. Now you can tell me about this story about how you bought this car, this only mode of transportation that she has to get to work.
Okay, what she told me initially was that she had a van. I don't know how she got a hold of this van. I don't know for sure. But that it needed a transmission, and she really needed the van because of the 2 children. So Jackie wanted to get this van fixed, and she said she needed $500 for the transmission, which is what the van needed. So the agreement was I would purchase the Sunfire. I thought initially it was for $1,000. The kids told me on the 9th when we sat down to do this that I had agreed for $1,000 in addition to the $500 that she needed for the transmission. So she was going to get the transmission fixed on the van. The Sunfire, Sunbird, whichever, was overheating. Her father is a certified mechanic, so he was going to get that fixed for us. That's why I didn't take possession of it right away. And I also knew that she needed a vehicle to be able to get back and forth to work.
Okay, let me see the 2 checks.
You know, so I wrote initially for $1,000 because I thought that was the agreement. Then I rewrote another one. She asked me that night if I had any cash that I could give her. So I wrote her another check for $400,
For what?
and I gave her $100 in cash. So the total for the car was $1,500. And she was to get the car fixed and to have Christmas money. You know, that would also enable her to have Christmas money.
Okay, and then her father didn't fix the car, and she and your son had a falling out.
Correct.
Okay, let me hear your story.
Okay, the day of that, she had given me a check for $1,000 and a check for $400. She knew that her
Don't
son...
tell me what she knew. Just tell me about the checks.
About the checks.
Don't look down. Look here.
They were supposed to be because her son has not paid child support since the day those kids were born.
Just doesn't
My
make
son
any
paying
shot.
child-
Just a second. You're living in his mother's house with him. He doesn't have to pay child support. He doesn't have to pay
No,
child support.
what I was saying, he wasn't paying anything for these
He's
kids.
not paying anything. You 2 of you were living together. He's not going to pay you anything. Listen, you chose, young lady, to not only make 1 baby with somebody that doesn't work, who's a bum, but make 2 babies with somebody who doesn't work as a bum. I asked you a simple question. I asked you about these 2 checks, so don't tell me what she knows. Just tell me about the conversations that you had with her.
The reason why she gave me the checks...
Don't tell me the reason. Tell me about the conversation. I said to her, she said to me.
Okay, she said, here, this is a gift for you and your children because I know you are struggling, because it's hard, you got to get them food, everything like that. She knew it was around Christmas time. She wanted to see the kids get presents from me, you know, have food, have diapers, have formula, and that kind of stuff. So she said, here's this. This is a gift to you. She had never said that I had to pay her any type of money back.
You know, I would believe you with regard to one of these checks, not both. Madam, listen to me carefully.
Yes.
If she would do that, she would have written you 1 check for $1,400, not 2 checks, one for $1,000 and one for $400. That doesn't make sense. And if something doesn't make sense, it's not true. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now let's try your story over again.
Well,
because part of this, I believe, is a gift. Part of it.
Well, I didn't understand why she gave me 2 checks.
Well, didn't you ask her?
No.
They're both made out to the same account. They're both from the same bank.
But wouldn't there be a memo if it was for a car?
No.
Or anything like that? Why
Not
wouldn't you?
necessarily. There's not a memo. It doesn't say anything.
You
It
know,
doesn't say gift. It doesn't say car. It doesn't say anything.
Your Honor, I didn't feel like I had to put anything on there.
I didn't
because-
ask you any question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have receipts here.
For what?
For showing for the food that I have bought my children.
Who cares? They're your children. Who's supposed to feed them? Who's
Yeah.
supposed to feed them?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah? Who's supposed to feed him? Bird, he's got his own children to feed. Me, I got a lot of children, a lot of grandchildren. You make babies, you got to feed them. And if you make babies with a bum who doesn't work, then you have to feed them. That's what you do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The children haven't seen their grandmother. That's not good for grandchildren.
I have a
Do I look like I need help from you? I read your case.
And later today,
2 days before that is when I had called the police because he had violently choked me and put me on the couch, so I got really scared and I had called the police.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joan Ledbetter claims the mother of her grandchildren, Jacqueline Snowden, owes for the return of money she paid for a Pontiac Sunfire.
Now, what happened with the car?
The car was never fixed. The car was never turned over. There was another issue that arose between her and my son. I was outside of a courthouse with her trying to discuss this issue with her. Her new boyfriend was there. I offered to even allow her to come work off part of it. She would not accept my phone calls.
Well, at this point, she left your house because she and your son had a falling out. She
I
said,
understand it.
You have a new boyfriend?
That is not the only reason why we had left the house. It is because their house had caught on fire. They took the spouting off the front of their house to where the water had leaked into the house. There is water coming down the walls. The father of the kids started, puking up blood, spitting up blood, all signs of black mold. I didn't want my children in that environment.
Fine. You're entitled to move out.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, that's what I was saying.
But there was also an incident involving the boyfriend. You called the police on him.
What, for the $80 that he stole out of my car?
That's why you were in front of a courthouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he stole $80 out of my vehicle.
He was not found guilty of that charge.
When?
I can't remember the day, but I got when they had paid me.
Was it after you moved out of his mother's house?
Yes.
Fine. Did he pay you back the $80?
We had to go through court to get the $80
Did you get
back.
the $80?
Yes, ma'am.
From him?
I don't know who had written the check. It was from the attorney.
So they made restitution.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't found guilty, but somebody made restitution.
Yes.
Well, same thing.
Yes.
Got to stop covering for him, Miss Ledbetter.
I agree with that,
Gotta
but
stop.
I also know that Jackie is a liar, and
There's no question she's a liar.
Okay.
Listen to me.
All right, I got it.
No question. No question she's
I got
a
it.
liar. We've got the mother of your two grandchildren who she may fib, which she did here a little bit, but she also was the hardworking member of the family.
I agree.
Your son was the bum in the family. Not only was he a bum, but he stole money from the mother of his children. He stole money from her because he repaid it, or you repaid it. And if you're telling me you repaid it, then you are more of an enabler than you should be.
No, I'm not going to tell you that at all. But what I'm saying is he was not found guilty of the theft because she told him to get in the car to get it, to go do something with it. And I know I'm splitting hairs here, but she got mad because it's a long story.
She got mad because what? Are you, just think, before you're answering me, are you making an excuse for him?
Probably. But I do believe that she told him to get the money out of the car.
Maybe, and maybe he took the money out of the car and then misappropriated it.
That's what happened.
Fine.
There we go.
Listen,
that's a
if
good
you
way to
say
put
to
that.
somebody, would you please take the $80 out of my car and go and buy the children formula and Pampers, and he takes the money out and puts it on OTB. He's stolen it.
Okay.
He's stolen it. Now, I don't know if that's what happened, but that's what misappropriating it is.
Got it.
He took it with permission to use for one thing, it was her money, and he used it on something else. Whether he bought drugs with it, OTB, or whatever, or went out drinking with his friends, who cares? He stole it. Got to stop covering for him.
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
Miss Snowden.
Yes, ma'am.
When you lived with Miss Ledbetter, did she help you with the children? So you're talking to me.
Some of the times.
That's all. Some of the time. Listen, she didn't bargain to be the mother of two little tiny children. That was you and the boyfriend. What's his name?
Justin.
That was you and Justin who made these two children. So if she was helpful part of the time, that's fine. And she let you live with Justin and your two children in her house for a couple of years. Did you pay for the telephone?
No.
Did you pay the electricity? Did you pay the water? Did you pay the insurance? Did you pay for nothing?
I was in and out over the past 2 years, not necessarily.
But that means you're unstable. What I'm suggesting to you is your children have two sets of grandparents. And from what I gather from Miss Ledbetter, because of all the acrimony that exists now between the two families, the children haven't seen their grandmother. That's not good for grandchildren.
I have a
Do I look like I need help from you? I read your case. I read your case. I'm just telling you, from the perspective of somebody who was in the family court for many, many years, from the perspective of somebody who has children, children thrive on the largest possible community of love and affection, and that means grandparents.
I agree with you, but the reason why I usually don't let her watch the kids unless I am present, but I don't want them in that house, is there are several biohazards that have used needles. And that
They don't have to go to the house.
I've invited them to our house, but they do not want to come to our house.
She has a trespass order against my son.
Listen
He
to
can't
me.
go.
We're not talking about your son.
Okay.
I read your petition. Your case says that unfortunately you're pursuing grandparents' visitation now in court. And what I'm telling you now is you just said the wrong thing to me. You said your son has a no contact order, so he can't go to the house. I'm not talking about your son. He's a bum. I'm talking about you. She says you're welcome in her mother's house to come and see the grandchildren. Are you prepared to go to her house to see the
I am prepared to do whatever I need to do to see my grandchildren.
She, not he. Could she come to your house to see the grandchildren?
Yes, and she can speak with my mother.
No. I don't care about your mother. I'm talking to you. You're old enough to make 2 babies. You're old enough to make a statement. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, she would like to make arrangements to come and see the children on a day which she's not working at your home. You have no objection to her coming to your home to visit with the grandchildren?
No.
Perfect. So that it's just a matter of the court setting a time, correct? Answer.
Yes, ma'am.
You owe Miss Ledbetter $1,000. That's for the car. The $500, I am assuming, was a gift. That's what I'm finding. The $400 check, the $100 in cash was a gift. If you are pursuing your visitation in court, we will make a copy of this tape available to you. She has already consented to you coming to the home and visiting the children, whether it's once a week or once every other week. You'll have to work out the scheduled time, but you can't take the children back to yours because it has nothing to do with your son. It only has to do with you and your grandchildren, okay?
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wants to see the grandchildren. I haven't let her see the grandchildren.
She's got a new boyfriend who was in court the second time when she took my son to court.
Because their house is not proper for kids to be in.
I called him a not too nice word for an anus, and she's been angry with me ever since.
Jose Torres is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old Janice Semeno, for throwing away his personal belongings, including his birth certificate.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 514 on the calendar in the matter of Torres versus Semeno.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Torres, you moved in with the defendant and her children while you were separated from your wife. I assume this is your wife, sir, is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that when you decided to return to your wife and reconcile with your family, the defendant kept and/or destroyed some property that belongs to you. The defendant says you had ample opportunity to get what you wanted. Whatever you didn't take with you, she got rid of. She is counterclaiming because she says that because of your broken promises, she lost wages. She's going to explain that to me. When did you and your wife separate, sir?
March of 2006.
And when did you move in with the defendant?
April, can't recall it.
June 4th.
And when did you meet her?
I met her through my boss, which is her brother.
When?
In May.
Where had you been living between March and May?
My mother's house.
So you met her in May and you moved in with her in June?
June.
First mistake. Where did you move in with her, sir?
And where she used to live in Falmouth.
Falmouth?
Yes.
In a house or an apartment?
An apartment.
How old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old.
Where's their father? Don't know.
Gone. Yeah,
Gone.
don't know.
Were you working?
Yes.
Who were you working for at the time?
Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts.
Who was taking care of the children when you worked?
They were in daycare, full-time.
Was that subsidized daycare?
Yeah.
Okay. So you move in,
Yes.
and then what happened, Mr. Torres?
Everything was getting fine. I was missing my kids a lot.
You have to speak slowly, Mr. Torres, because I'm going to try to follow you.
Okay.
Everything was going fine. You were missing your kids a lot, is what I got. Now you're going to try to speak a little slower and keep your voice up so I can hear you. See how I'm speaking and projecting? You don't have any trouble hearing me, right?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Good. Go ahead. Everything was going fine. You were missing your children, and
I spoke with her that I would like to get closer to my kids. And she agreed to move closer so I could be near my kids after work.
So you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I miss them. Would you move?
No, I didn't explain just like that. I asked her if we could. I didn't force her to.
Nobody said you forced her, but you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I want to move with you and your kids.
Yes.
So she moved.
We did.
How far away from where she was living did she move?
I don't know the exact mileage.
Time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
no.
a half hour.
About an hour.
An hour.
45 to an hour.
So her children also were taken out of daycare.
Yes.
And she didn't have her jobs anymore.
She had transferred
What do you mean she transferred? What does
She
that mean?
transferred her first job that she first had in Dunkin' Donuts. She couldn't get transferred. And then she transferred her kids' daycare vouchers over to a new one in Taunton.
So she relocated her whole family because of you. And when did she do that?
We moved in December 1st.
12/1/06. So between June and December, you and the defendant lived together.
Yes.
And in December, you relocated this family to be closer to your children.
Yes.
And then what happened, Mr. Torres?
I received a Christmas postcard from my wife and kids. She takes my picture with my kids on it and my wife and cuts my wife's face off and posts it on the fridge. And from there, everything went downhill.
So when did you move out?
I moved out before Christmas. It was like December 22nd, 2006.
So she lived in this new location close to your children for 3 weeks with you?
Yes.
So what are you suing for, Mr. Torres?
Just all my personal property.
Like what?
So Nintendo GameCube, stereo equipment, clothing, hats, bed.
And how much is all that stuff worth, sir?
Close to $2,000.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
It's $10.30. I actually had subsidized housing, so it was $170.
So he was getting the advantage of subsidized housing. They didn't know he was living there, right?
No.
Because if they knew he was living there, it would have been $1,000
Yes.
a month, right?
Yes.
Between June and December.
Yes.
Now, what happened with your second job?
They cut my pay and they cut my hours, and I had no idea when I was being transferred, because if I knew that, I wouldn't have transferred my job.
Yes, you would have.
Well.
What, sir?
Excuse me. The reason that she stopped working for Stop and Shop is because of pay-related. They did not drop her hours. She had the same hours, but was a lot of money that she was missing up a week of her check, and that's the reason she quit.
So?
So she did not lose her job because of me.
She did.
Okay.
She did.
Can I call my wife up here?
No, I don't need your wife. You were a big boy enough to leave your wife. You were a big boy enough to have this lady with her 2 children relocate closer to your children so you could be more comfortable, so you didn't have to travel. So she relocated herself. Her 2 children, took them out of daycare where they were comfortable, where she had 2 jobs. Nobody's asking you a question.
Okay.
I mean, you knew that he was living with her, right? You knew he was living with her, right?
Not in the beginning, no, I didn't. But she also knew that we had problems previously, and we've always worked our problems out.
Listen,
she knew she was
Ms.
getting
Torres,
involved with
Ms.
a married
Torres,
man.
listen to me. Shh. I got what happened.
The story's not straight.
Miss Torres.
I'm sorry.
When you wake up in the morning for 8 months and you don't find your husband sleeping next to you in the bed, that's not a fight. That's not a disagreement. That's a separation. And while I think it's dumb on the part of any woman to get involved with a guy who's just separated from his family, and dumber to relocate and uproot her children and her life, there's no question in my mind that you sent a Christmas card with your picture in it in order to irritate them a little bit. That doesn't say you're not entitled to do it. Don't speak. Don't speak. And I want to tell you something. I wouldn't have put up her picture on my refrigerator either if I were her. Put your hand down, smarty pants.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know how much sympathy I have for you? That much. 0. Less than 0.
And later today,
What happened was that
I don't care what happened. This is a contract.
Yeah.
Who signed it?
I did.
Period.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Torres claims ex-girlfriend Janice Semeno threw away his belongings. Janice is countersuing for lost wages.
So far, you caused a lot of trouble, Mr. Torres. You don't ask somebody to relocate their life and turn their life upside down unless you are 100% sure that you're prepared to make a commitment.
I was committed.
Excuse me?
Everything got a lot stressful when we moved in to Taunton from Falmouth.
You told me things got stressful when your wife sent you a Christmas picture with herself in it. And she cut the picture out, which is exactly what I would have done.
Prior to that...
Exactly what most women would have done. Cut out the picture of your wife.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Put your hand down and don't speak.
Prior to that, Your Honor, we were having the problems with her jobs. She was getting a little bit of stressful.
Was she stressful between June and December with her job?
No, she wasn't.
Because everything was nice. She had 2 jobs. She had daycare. Then she relocated, and then she had stress. It was your fault. You get where I'm going, Mr. Torres.
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
Well, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for your wife. I'm sorry for your children. You should get where I'm going. Bird gets where I'm going. The 50 or some odd people out here get where I'm going, sir. And if you don't get where I'm going, there's something missing up here. Now, what happened to his property?
I called him from my sister's December 23rd, and I said, you need to come meet me if you want your belongings. He said, I don't want them. You can throw them away. You can burn them. I don't care what you do with it. So I got rid of all his clothes, his hats, because what do I want with it?
When did you get rid of them?
Most of the stuff was on that day. I got rid of it.
Okay, because you were pretty angry.
Yes.
So whether he told you to get rid of the stuff or he didn't tell you to get rid of the stuff, you would have gotten rid of the stuff anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about it when he left. Tell me about what happened when he just walked out of the house without his clothes or anything else.
He was a mess. He came back from work and he was drunk, and he'd tell me, going home to my wife and going back to my kids. And I told him continuously, I said, Jose, I'm not going to move unless, you know what I mean, you're going to be with me and stay with me. I'm not going to move to Taunton if you're going to go back with your wife. And that's what happened. He up and left.
It's a very stupid thing to do. And what happened to his entertainment center?
I have his speakers, and I asked him if he wanted them, and he said no.
Put your hand down. You know how much sympathy I have for you? That much. 0. Less than 0, if that's possible. You have his bed?
Yeah, what happened was when we went to Falmouth, I got rid of my bed, and he brought his bed.
So you got rid of your bed
Yes,
and
I
took
did.
his bed. He doesn't get the bed back. What else?
Yes. There's the Nintendo GameCube, which my son plays with, but...
What?
I got a list if you want to see it.
I don't care to see your list.
Okay.
She threw away a lot of stuff when you left, which is probably what I would have done if you left. You left, you're not there, you didn't take your stuff, goodbye. Stuff goes in the garbage.
Leave you on her.
But she has your speakers. What else do you have of his?
I have his VCR, if you'd like that.
Okay, good.
And his digital camera.
Okay, I want you to box those things and get them out of your house.
Okay.
Within 5 days. He's going to pay the cost of putting it in UPS or the post office or whatever.
Okay.
Excuse me. I really need to speak because he did not get the story out the right way. He's very nervous. He doesn't know exactly what to say. He was buying back his own property. She did not offer to give it back to him.
I don't care whether she offered to give it back to him or
He offered
not.
to give her money. She checked off that he could get his own property with police escorts.
And
We
I went
went,
there.
and she said she threw it away.
Good. You said it now? You happy?
No, there's a lot more to it.
I'm not interested in a lot more. I got the general gist of it. Your husband?
You did it
your
because
husband,
he didn't explain
don't,
it right.
Don't speak. Your husband left you, not because of her, because he didn't
I
meet her for a
actually leave her.
while.
I just got separated from her to take apart time from each other.
She kicked him out.
Just a second. Then if you need time, Mr. Torres, to decide what you're going to do, is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? You needed time to figure out what you were going to do?
No, we just need time away from each other.
Then you don't move in with somebody else and dislocate them from a life. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You moved in with somebody else. If you want to take time away from your wife and see if the relationship can be put back together again, you do not move in with somebody else just because it's comfy. Do you understand? That's
Yes,
what
I
you
do,
did.
but I didn't do that exactly like that.
Get mad. Speak up.
Huh?
Mr. Torres, your wife may not want to acknowledge it, but that is precisely what you did. She did not handcuff you and tie you to her bed. From June of 2006 until December of 2006, you shared the defendant's bed, you shared her life, you convinced her to move and relocate to be closer to your children. That's what you just told me, sir.
No, I
you
did not
told
convince
me
her. We
that you
agreed
wanted
on.
her to move closer.
But I did not force her to do it.
Listen, those are the things that you're getting back. Period. End of discussion. Let me explain something to you. You don't get awarded money for stupidity. You don't pick up your life and relocate for a married guy. And if you do so on a promise and a prayer, courts aren't here to help you. You have to understand that. His wife doesn't get it because she prefers not to get it. He didn't go and move into a room in somebody's house while they were trying to work out their problems. He found it more comfortable to be in your house, living with you. And she thinks that's your fault. That's not your fault. She's angry at the wrong person. She should be angry at him because it was his choice to move in with you, and it was his choice to move into another apartment with you. It was his choice. He was more comfortable living that way while he was figuring out what to do with his marriage. So her anger is misplaced, and I don't want to hear about it. So you get your property back. The stuff that you just mentioned, sir, other than that, you get nothing. I'm dismissing her counterclaim because, unfortunately, the law doesn't permit her to have a counterclaim for her own acts of misguided love and affection and your promises that you were going to be with her. Law doesn't permit
I ain't
that.
made any promises.
Get out of here.
You may step out. Wait here, please.
He didn't get the story straight. He was very nervous. He had a hard time talking.
He was already separated and lived in his own place.
She chose to deal with a married man.
I had no idea. He told me after we were together.
13 years we've been together. We've had our separations. You know, he's always come back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Matthews versus Hadsall, step forward, please.
24-year-old Thomas Matthews is suing his ex-fiancée, 29-year-old Janice Hadsall, for the return of the engagement ring. Janice claims she sold the ring to pay bills.
Mr. Matthews, according to your complaint, you and the defendant became engaged.
Yes, ma'am.
You bought her a ring. You were supposed to move into a new townhouse.
Yes.
So far, that's correct. Is that right?
No. Thomas and I had never gotten engaged.
According to your complaint, you bought her an engagement ring.
Yes.
And you wanted to move into a townhouse. In order to do that, you had to break your lease. And you paid the bills to do that, to break the lease.
Yes.
So that you could move into this new townhouse together.
Yes.
After you paid those bills, you found out that Miss Hadsall was sort of friendly with her ex-husband again. Are you now living in the townhouse, sir?
Yes.
And is living in the townhouse with the ex-husband, which was facilitated through your paying the bills to get her out of her old lease.
Correct.
That's
So
not
you
true.
want two things. You want the engagement ring back, and you want the bills that you paid.
Yes.
Let's talk about the ring first.
Okay.
You have it?
No, I don't.
Where is it?
Well, when Thomas and I was supposed to move in the townhome, he agreed to help me with the bills and the utilities and stuff like that. When he and I had split up or broken up, that I had to sell not only that ring, but some other items that I had for
I don't believe
my
you.
bills.
I think you're a liar. I think you just didn't bring it because you didn't want to give it to me. That's what I think. How much was the ring?
$2,069.56.
Describe it to me.
It was white gold. I believe it was 1.5 carats.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Well, that's what Kay Jewelers calls it, an engagement ring. And Kay Jewelers doesn't lie. Talk and talk fast.
We had started dating. We moved into an apartment together. We didn't like the apartment that we had gotten. He and I had some problems. We decided that after we were going to move out of the apartment together, that we went ahead and split up, and he moved out immediately into his parents' home. We had talked about, before we move into the townhome, possibly getting back together. The day after we got back together, he told me to meet him at the apartment, that he had a gift for me. When he showed up at my place, he gave me the ring. And I told him, you do understand that we just got back together, that we're not getting engaged. He said, that's fine. He had asked me, when do you think would be a good time to get engaged? And I told him, not even for a year from now.
You're
And he
not a
said that
nice
was
person.
fine.
You're not a nice person. Because whether you said it or not, bottom line is, you're old enough to know what an engagement ring looks like. And if you accept it, and if later you go back to your ex-husband, you be a nice person, and you give him back his ring so he doesn't feel like a fool. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Sometimes in a relationship, you are either the dumper or the dumpee. You got dumped on. The second part of your claim is that you got dumped on because you paid the bills to get her out of a lease so that she could move into a place that she really liked. And she did move into a place she really liked, only not with you. That's something that's not nice, but it's not something that's actionable in a court.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
When you filed for divorce against ex-husband, were you the plaintiff or defendant?
The plaintiff.
And what did you allege in the action for divorce? Don't say You remember. What were the grounds for divorce?
He had an alcohol problem.
So he was abusive?
Not physically abusive, mentally abusive.
He was abusive, right?
Yes.
Because when you have an alcohol problem, you're not only abusive to you, you're abusive to your children, right?
Not technically.
Oh, not technically.
No.
No. How do you think I'm so smart? You think he doesn't have an alcohol problem now?
No.
You don't think that?
No, I don't.
And you brought him back into the lives of your children.
Yes, I did.
That makes you doubly stupid. But that's your prerogative. Meanwhile, you owe him $2,070 for the engagement ring since it's not here. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You step out.
I think she was not very understanding at all.
I just wanted to get my stuff back and be done with her.
Thomas had to buy people's love and affection.
I don't need to buy affection. I have a lot of people who love me and a lot of friends.
This is his way of getting back at me.
It's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Being done with her and moving on with my life.
21-year-old Ryan Lapp is suing his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, for medical bills due to an assault. Mark says Ryan had been making harassing phone calls to his friend.
Order. All rise. Now, it's case number 368 on the calendar in the matter of Lapp versus Childress. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, that's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all.
Shh.
Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is, if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, you and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir?
I
Look
don't
at me.
know. There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
You
the
don't
effect.
remember. So let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number? Do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of 06?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you meet your husband?
In May.
Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice.
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
called the number.
No. Other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make the phone calls?
Me?
You!
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there. and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had something against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin.
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there.
I went over there and
Look at me, Mr. Childress.
wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom.
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay.
It's
All right,
like
do you remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according
Yeah,
to
I
you.
wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover. Yes, when he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up to actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night. Then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bedroom. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, do you know who I am? I said, yeah. He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck. I was on medication for about 3 weeks, which caused
Not
me
going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many times did you hit him?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that.
It was a lot more than 10 or 12. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan.
Suck it up.
And later today,
When was the last time your husband worked full time?
A year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
It's ridiculous not to work when you have 2 children.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Okay, now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Children. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him.
I
It's not
assume
like
the
he just
police-
came
I
in there
assume
just
you
to
called
beat
the
me up.
police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I
Which he
assume the
also threatened
police,
me not to
shh,
do.
quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings,
Yes, Your Honor.
and they did nothing.
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
I have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, you maybe are a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury. And you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever, suck it up. But Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wanted to find out what he was trying to do by tormenting this young 18-year-old girl.
It scared me. It definitely scared me. That's why I said I had pain and suffering, because I couldn't sleep correctly for a couple days after that.
It was just totally immature and unfair for what they did.
Oh, I won't be making prank phone calls. I mean, you live and learn.
Bill Michael is suing his friend's former friend, Talena Bush, for a counterfeit check he cashed on her behalf. Talena says she is also an innocent victim.
That's case number 328 on the calendar, the matter of Michael versus Bush.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Mr. Michael, the defendant is a friend of yours.
Correct.
This is the friend.
His name is Peter All.
And you know Peter because you have custody of his 4 children.
Correct.
You have custody of his 4 children because he and the mother of those children are incapacitated.
They got in trouble in previous times and...
With drugs.
I'm not sure what legal matters, but yes.
Trust me.
Okay.
In any event, how long have you had custody of the children?
I'm starting my 5th year now.
As a foster parent?
Actually, as a guardian. I don't get, court benefits.
So you support them?
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a paramedic firefighter.
How did you come to take the children?
I actually knew their mom. She lived in the neighborhood, and basically we knew each other that way. And when she got in trouble, I basically said that I would take care of them until she got out of the trouble she got into.
And how often does their father see them?
He doesn't see them as often as I'd like him to, but he does spend some time with them. And
does he give you any money for their support?
Well, he's done things like he's bought shoes for them and things like that. And
money for their support.
Yeah, there's been a couple occasions. He'll give you $50, $60 different times.
And their mother?
She's in Florida and haven't seen her for a few years.
Well, Mr. Michael, it's interesting to know that there are still people around like you.
Thank you.
Anyway, Peter over here came to you and said to you that his girlfriend had a check that needed to be cashed. It was a certified check, according to you. And so, because you're a good soul, you said, well, if she's willing to wait, I'll put the money in my bank, because I don't have that much money. It was $6,000. I'll put the money in my account. When the check clears, I'll give her the money. But then somebody cried to you that they really needed the money. Who was that?
Well, when they first came to me, they basically said that it was they didn't say girlfriend, boyfriend. They said that they were doing web designs together, business partners. And they basically said that they were short some cash right then. And so I said, well, I'd give them $2,500 up front.
So you gave them the $2,500, and then later you gave them $3,500.
After the check cleared my bank, and my bank called me and said the check had cleared, I withdrew the rest of the amount and proceeded in giving the rest of the amount to them.
Who did you give it to?
I had to give it to PD All because at the time I didn't have Talena's address, didn't have a number or anything. And at the bank, she was the one that stated to give it to him and that she would get it.
No, I never said that.
Listen to me.
Sorry.
Don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
Good. When did the bank advise you that the check was bad?
It was the 31st of May.
Can I see the statement, please?
Yeah. There's the original check, and there's the notification from the bank.
Where did you get this check from, Miss Bush?
I got an email from someone that wanted me to build them a catering website, and he said he would send me the check. He wanted a 12-page website, and when I got the check, I did not have a banking account, so I asked...
How old are you?
32.
You're 32 years old, and you don't have a bank account?
I had just moved from North Carolina to Kentucky.
When?
Maybe 2 months before I got the check.
Yes.
And I didn't have
Who
a
are you
banking
living
account.
with?
I live by myself. Well, he stays with me.
That would be me, her brother.
You live in an apartment or a house?
House.
Do you rent it?
I'm owning it. I'm buying it.
Were you renting it?
No.
Well, whose house is it? How do you pay the rent?
It's in his
That would
name.
be my name. All of it.
So you didn't have a bank account?
No.
Why didn't you go to your brother and say to your brother, who is a homeowner, who clearly has a bank account, why don't you cash this check for me?
It's a rent-to-own type deal. He doesn't have a banking account either.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that somebody who pays for a house, and he's clearly somebody who's been around the block a few times, doesn't have a bank account, a
didn't.
credit card. You have a wallet with you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Take out your wallet. Put it over there. Open up his wallet. Is there a credit card in there?
They're all mine.
Is there a credit card in there? Is my
Yes.
question. Take them all out.
Okay. I had a bank account at one time.
Just a second. Just take them out. All the credit cards.
They're all not good.
How many credit cards are there?
2.
Bert, can I see the credit cards,
3.
please?
4.
I'll take them all.
The credit cards.
Bert, would you look in the wallet and make sure there are no other credit cards there, please? Thank you.
The one with my...
Shh, quiet. Is your name Jason?
Yeah.
Yes, would be the answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have 1 credit card that's yours, and I have 3 credit cards that are your sister's. That would be you.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And 1 is a debit card.
But the one...
Just a second. 1 is a debit card. Now, I don't use this kind of stuff, but wouldn't a debit card presuppose that you have a checking account that goes with it, Bird?
That's the general
That's
idea.
the general idea. You don't take this money out of, a chicken coop. You
The
take it out of a
only
bank, right?
The only reason why I have that credit card in there is because I lost my ID and it's got my picture on it, and it was an old banking account that I closed in North Carolina.
So why don't you rip it up?
Because I have to have it for my picture to come out here.
Oh,
to
let's
fly.
go. U.S. Airways, Dividend Miles Platinum, and Liberty Union. What's Liberty Union?
It's a prepaid credit card. All them credit cards are prepaid.
Okay,
And
so a prepaid credit card doesn't mean you have to pay the bill?
No, it means you put money on it to have the money on your card. They don't give you credit. You just put the money on it.
And what about wired plastic?
That's a prepaid. You have to put money on it. It's just a way, so if you want to buy an airplane ticket or rent a hotel, you can do it. It's prepaid. You don't have to have credit. You just...
And how do you pay for the...
You put it on Western Union, and then the money's there for you to use it, to do things like that
You
with it.
send them the cash into them to Western Union?
Yes, ma'am. It's prepaid.
Never heard of anything like this in my life. You have a bank account?
No, ma'am.
What's the name of the company you worked for who sent you this check?
Extreme Web Design is the name of the company that I own. I'm the only person that works there.
I didn't ask you that. I said, what is the name of the company who wrote you this check?
Carlton's Catering Service.
Where are they located?
They're in UK is where it came from. But he said he was opening up a business in Cancun, Mexico, and requested for me to build him a website, 12 pages. And then after I had gotten the money, actually...
Listen to me very carefully, sir. They're all a bunch of scammers. Him and her and the brother. You got scammed out of $6,000. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Her excuse is he ran off for $3,500. I don't believe it. They scammed you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much money do you give Mr. Michael for your 4 children every week?
We'll give it to him every week.
Outrageous, sir. You are an outrage.
And later today,
She called me and said, I need to get my act together. I want to come back. I'm going to join AA. And I said, okay, we can make this work.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Michael claims former friend Talena Bush had him cash a counterfeit check for $6,000.
If he deserted his 4 children and is not parenting his 4 children, doing the most dishonest thing that a person could do, make children and then desert them, why do you think he would be honest with you?
You know, he's just really been trying, and like I said, he comes around.
He's been trying? I can look at him and tell how hard he's been trying. Where do you work?
I work for Cox Drywall.
Stand up.
I work every day.
Good. How much? That's great. How much money do you earn?
$14 an hour.
How much money do you take home a week?
After taxes, probably over $400.
And who do you live with?
Oh,
it's not an answer.
my fiance and 2 children.
Who's the fiance?
Misty.
Who is she?
It's a friend.
Wasn't your girlfriend?
No, she wasn't my girlfriend. We just
So you
friends.
live with Misty?
In business together.
You're in business with her?
I used to be her errands. Used to run errands for us, what I did.
Right. How much money do you give Mr. Michael for your 4 children every week?
We'll give it to him every week.
Why not?
Just don't.
Why?
I don't know.
Outrageous, sir. You are an outrage.
Yeah, I'm an outrage.
You're an outrage. Sit
Yeah.
down. Give her back this check, please. Can't look at her anymore. Him either. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all, sir.
Oh,
Do me a favor.
$5,000.
Do me a favor. Keep your hard-earned money in the bank where you are going to need it for these children. Understand? Because you're not going to get any help from him.
Thank you.
That's all.
Parties are excused. I'm going to step out.
I didn't scam Dan.
I tried to lend them money in good faith and got taken for it.
I basically was scammed myself.
If she got scammed by a check or not, I honestly don't know.
Well, I didn't get the other $3,500. Dan gave that to Petey, and then he ran off with it.
I wish I did get $3,500. Period. She's lying.
It was a bad check. She didn't know about it, and she got took from him. He hustled her.
They're together. They're the scam artists.
I felt bad for Dan, yes.
I'm not going to cash people's checks anymore. You learn from your mistakes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martino Napolitano versus DeSimone. Step forward, please.
Sharon Martino Napolitano is suing the mother of her daughter's boyfriend, Deborah DeSimone, for damage caused to her Toyota Camry while the car was in her possession.
You 2 lovely ladies are neighbors, and you each have a child. You have a girl. You have a boy. They're dating each other.
Yes.
This is your complaint. You allowed your daughter, this young lady right here, to use your car. She was using your car one day to take Miss DeSimone around to do some chores.
Correct.
And that wouldn't have bothered you necessarily because she's the mother of the boyfriend, right? But then Miss DeSimone asked if she could borrow the car herself because she wanted to go food shopping, right?
Yes,
Food
to
town.
pick up a couple items.
And your daughter allowed her to drive the car. The car was damaged. You want Miss DeSimone to pay for the damage to the car.
Absolutely.
Miss DeSimone says she took the car, went into Food Town. While she was in Food Town, somebody must have hit your car.
Correct.
Right?
That is correct.
So it's not her fault. That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
We'll see. What year is your car?
It's a 1995 Camry.
How long have you had it?
Approximately a year.
So you bought it secondhand?
Yes, ma'am.
How many accidents have you had?
I've had one other one where I was hit from behind at a red light.
So you had a rear end damage to the car? Bumper? Or?
Bumper.
Bumper. Only the bumper?
Only the bumper.
Was the car fixed?
No.
On September 6th, what kind of damage was done to your car?
It would be the right quarter panel.
You have a photograph?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's before and after.
Ooh. That's a bad one. Okay. So, you still dating each other?
Yes.
Okay, this is not going to be painful. Believe me. We're going to use the but-for rule, Miss DeSimone.
Okay.
But for the fact that you borrowed the car and took it to Food Town to go shopping, this wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, you took the car. You didn't have her permission to drive the car. You had her daughter's permission to drive the car.
Actually, there was a couple things that happened prior to that. While I was in the car with her daughter, it was a very rainy day.
her daughter was driving the car. The car was hydroplaning a lot, and she became very nervous and asked if she pulled over if I would drive. I said, no problem, if it's safer. We completed our mission. We did proceed home. Asked if she didn't mind if I ran back out to just pick up a couple items at the food town. That's when all that began, and the police report states differently, if you'd like to see it, that he even stated, the police officer, that he saw prior damage on the car.
You mean this prior damage?
No, other damage.
We're not talking about other damage. We're talking about this damage.
But she's saying that there was only damage to the bumper, and according to this, it states that there was...
What difference does it make? This damage was not on the car, madam, when you borrowed it.
No.
That's all I'm talking about.
I don't believe so.
I am only talking about... Well, you don't miss this damage.
No.
Ma'am,
No, you don't have to speak. It was going to be easy. Now it's not so easy. For the fact that you borrowed the car, took it to Food Town, the car would have been parked in her driveway. If the car was parked in her driveway, the same driver that hit her car from Food Town would have had to look for it.
Can I please say
Shut up.
something?
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And she's taking your word for the fact that you don't know how this accident happened. But it looks as if somebody hit your car. If she had hit somebody else's car, unless she, I don't know how you can contort yourself to do this kind of a damage to somebody else's car, but you had the car, but for the fact that you borrowed the car, it wouldn't have had this kind of damage.
Correct.
This damage. Good. Then we don't have a problem. What do you want?
Okay. She just got done stating that the car was hydroplaning earlier, okay?
It doesn't make any difference.
Excuse me. They made it home safely. She has a Jeep Cherokee parked in the same parking lot that she could have used her own vehicle to go to the store. There is no reason to take my little car back out.
Let me ask you this question. Now you're getting angry, and you already won. So you have to go, find your center.
I've been trying to do a lot of it. I've been trying to find a lot of my center.
And say, it's over.
But I would have never asked her son to use her car.
Listen to me. It's a car. She's responsible. Done. Romeo and Juliet here, going to leave here happy. I suggest you do the same. How much did it cost to fix your car?
The estimate is $1687.98.
That's a pretty cheap estimate for this kind of damage.
I think so.
It is. Anything else? Romeo, Juliet. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1687.98. Thank you. That's all.
Bodyguard Steve, you may step out.
I wish I could have presented some more of my facts, but justice was done. I'm glad it's over.
Well, I don't know what other evidence that she could have presented, but I think she would have been just as upset, if not even more, and we would still be here today.
No hard feelings.
I don't think that we'd be borrowing each other's cars.
He's my love. He's my Romeo.
She's my Juliet, you know.
21-year-old Jonathan Dufty is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old Shayna Correo, for vet bills and for her share of a vacation in San Diego.
Now it's case number 279 on the calendar in the matter of Dufty versus Correo. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mr. Dufty, this used to be your girlfriend, and you lived together for a while. You broke up, and you say that she owes you for expenses of a joint dog, including the gas to go and get it, and the vet bills, etc.
Yep.
And a vacation that you took some time ago, she was supposed to pay for half, and she never did. Ms. Correo, your defense is grow up. Get over it. It's over. Mr. Dufty, how long did you and Ms. Correo live together?
About 5 or 6 months.
Did you move into her apartment? She moved into your apartment?
She moved into my house with me and my mother.
How long had you known her before she moved in?
We were dating about 2 months prior to that.
Why did you move into his mother's house?
Just to be together. We were supposed to move upstairs to our own apartment.
But you never did?
Briefly, but not for long.
Now, you moved in what month?
The end of March.
And when did you have this burning desire to get a pet together?
I would have to say the end of that month.
Why?
I've always wanted one. She had always wanted one. I figured it'd be good to go into it together.
So you went and bought this boxer puppy, and you had to travel to get it.
Yep.
How much did it cost?
It was about $200 in gas to get to Pennsylvania and back.
I didn't ask you how much the gas was. I asked you how much the pet was.
Oh, sorry, $550.
And then there were vet bills.
Correct.
How much were the vet bills?
I have $796 on my credit card.
And who took the dog when you split up?
Shayna did.
Do you want the dog back?
No.
You're perfectly happy with her having the dog.
Well, it's been there for a while now.
So you're perfectly happy with that?
There. Yeah.
Good. Under what theory, Mr. Dufty, Under what theory do you think a court is going to give you the vet bills back?
Well, I don't have the dog anymore. She took the dog without even attempting to ask me if I wanted it, so I had no choice. She just took the dog. I have all this money invested into the dog and vet bills, and I have no dog to
Well,
show
when
for
you
it.
weren't getting along, according to what I read in the complaint and the answer, she said, I'm going to my mother's house to cool off for the weekend.
Right.
She left you a note. She took the dog with her. And you decided you had enough of her, period, so you told her not to bother to come back.
Yes.
Right?
I
Right?
ended the relationship.
Now, when you called her and told her, you emailed her, how did you get the message across to her to tell her that you didn't want her to come back?
It was text messaging over the phone, which is not the way I wanted it done.
Just a minute. You mean text messaging each
Yeah.
other back and forth. So you said to her, don't bother to come back.
Well, she asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I don't see this going anywhere.
I'll get to you in a minute. So now you say, I don't see this going anywhere. Don't bother to come back.
Right.
Did you say, bring my dog back?
That wasn't...
Did you
No,
say,
not at that
bring my
time.
dog back?
No.
When did you say, where's my dog?
About a week later.
Well, what did you think was going to happen to the dog in the 2 weeks now that it's been with defendant?
I tried to talk to her about what was going to happen because she still owed me the money for the vacation. We didn't know what was going on with the dog. She refused to talk to me and told me that I needed to speak to her mother about any problems I had.
Did you?
Yes. And her mother told me that I had to bring her to court to settle any problems.
All right. Now, Mr. Dufty, let me take care of the first part of your problem. Let's take care of the dog.
All right.
You get nothing for the dog.
Okay.
You lived together, you played house together, you bought this puppy together. That's what sometimes young, stupid people do. They say, well, we're not going to have a child together right now. We're going to get a pet together. Foolishness. There was no agreement. There was no contract. There was no
Right.
contract with the defendant whatsoever.
Correct.
That should you separate, she was going to keep the dog, but she would reimburse you for the vet bills. It's contract.
Right. Well, I never had a choice to even have
Oh,
an
certainly you
option
had
to keep the dog.
Certainly you had a
Because I was
choice,
at
sir.
work.
You didn't want the dog. If, when you text messaged her for the first time, you said, don't bother to come home, but by the way, I paid for the vet bills for the dog, I paid for the gas to get there to purchase the dog, and I think it's only fair that I should have the dog back.
Right.
And she says, no, I want the dog. And you say, well, then let's amicably come up with a resolution with regard to that. That's one thing. But you didn't mention the dog at all.
Okay.
That's sort of an afterthought. In any event, you had no contract. There is no contract or
Right.
theory under which I find that the law is going to help you get these vet bills paid. You know, it would really be no different if you purchased a car together, stupidly, in joint names, and the car needed repairs, and you paid for the repairs, and then you broke up, and she took the car. She said, well, we purchased the car jointly, you know, so we're each going to get half the money, but I put in all the money to fix the car. There has
Right.
to be some theory under which you're going to get that back, other than
Correct.
just juvenile stupidity. Okay. So far, you didn't say much. So far, you're a winner, right?
Correct.
You have the dog. You're taking care of the dog?
Correct.
Good. Now, let's get to the vacation. When did you take the vacation?
The vacation we took in the middle to the end of March.
May.
March 2000.
May.
May. Where did you go?
To San Diego.
Where were you working at the time, Mr. Dufty?
I was currently unemployed. I'd been laid off. I had another job lined up to
So you were
start.
unemployed. And where
Right.
were you working?
At a daycare in
How much did you earn?
$250 a week.
Why are you asking me? I don't work there.
$250.
Okay, so you were unemployed. You decided to take a vacation. That's always a good thing when you're unemployed to take a vacation. It clears your head, right? Good. Where were you going?
We went to San Diego to visit my family.
How long were you there?
12 days.
Who did you stay with?
My cousin and my uncle.
In their house.
Correct.
So let me hear the story, Mr. Dufty.
In the end of May, my cell phone contract was ending, so I was getting a new cell phone. She, at the time, needed to buy a new cell phone, so...
No, I didn't.
So I decided that we'll get a cell phone contract together. We'll save money renewing a contract on buying her a new phone. At the same time, we were planning the vacation. She didn't have the money or amounts on credit cards to pay for the vacation. So I decided and made a deal with her that I will pay for the vacation if you pay for the cell phone bills until the amount equals up. And then when we ended the relationship,
Just a second. I want you to be quiet and not interrupt him again.
and then when I ended the relationship, she canceled my cell phone and stopped paying everything.
Had she paid the cell phone between May and September?
She paid it for 5 months.
Did you pay for the cell phone bill for 5 months?
6 months.
Why?
Because it was on my contract, under my name, and
Was
it
it
was
any
just
extra
easier.
for him?
Yes.
How much?
It was probably like $60 to $70 more a month.
What bills did Mr. Duffy pay for you?
No bills. He paid for the vacation, but there was no contract in saying that I would pay him back for the vacation.
How come you didn't pay for anything when you went?
Because...
Look at me, don't look down there. How come you didn't pay for anything?
I didn't have the money to pay for a vacation like that.
Did you tell him that?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said he'd take care of it.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Sure. Stand up when you say something.
Yep.
You're his mother.
Okay. After she moved out, she said that it was an agreement between the two of them that he would pay for the trip to California and she would continue to pay the cell phone bill. That was an agreement they had made.
Who did she say that to?
She said it to me.
When?
It was a week after that she had moved out of the house when she came to get her meal. And she told me that he dumped her and she was not going to pay the cell phone bill anymore.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's no reason for me to pay for his cell phone, especially if he's going to threaten me.
Why did he threaten you if you didn't pay for it for 10 months?
And later today,
3 weeks after he purchases this car, he doesn't have a car and he doesn't have his girlfriend. How do you think he feels?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jonathan Duffy claims ex-girlfriend Shayna Correo owes for vet bills on a dog she kept after their breakup. Jonathan also says Shayna owes for half the cost of a vacation in San Diego.
Did you have a conversation with his mother about the vacation when you came to pick up your mail?
I did have a conversation with the cell phone because she had asked me why I shut off the cell phone.
And what did you say to her?
I said I shut it off because we are no longer a couple and there is no reason for me to pay for his cell phone, and especially if he's going to threaten me that I have to pay for it for 10 months so he can rack up my bill and then I have bad credit because I can't pay for that.
Why did he threaten you if you didn't pay for it for 10 months?
Because he said that if I didn't give him money for the vacation, then he's not going down to Verizon to get on his own contract, and he said that I should pay for 10 months worth of more cell phone bills to add up to the vacation that I owed him.
So what you're telling me is that you did not have an agreement before.
We never had an agreement.
But afterwards he said you pay for half the vacation or pay for my phone.
Right.
I believe that. I believe it, Mr.
Excuse
Duffy.
me.
And I believe her when she said that her defense to this case is you got to grow up and you got to move on.
Your Honor?
No, listen to me. Listen to me. You went to San Diego to, according to you, visit your relatives. You stayed there. She was earning $250 a week. The likelihood of her spending $1,500 on a vacation is de minimis.
It wasn't $1,500, it was $1,200.
$1,200 on a vacation.
But I was unemployed at the time.
Is de minimis. Living with your moms.
Right.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Duffy. You don't have a contract with her. You never had a contract with her. And the fact that it's over doesn't make it a contract.
It was an agreement before the relationship was ended.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all.
What's correct? You may step out.
He was really out for money.
She was looking for a free ride.
I think he made up pretty good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Atkins versus Penhollow. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Shanna Atkins is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Andrew Penhollow, for intentionally denting the side of her car. Shanna claims Andrew was angry over their breakup.
Miss Atkins, this young man used to be your boyfriend. I assume he's not your boyfriend anymore. Is that right?
That's right.
You had an argument and claimed that after the argument he was a little intoxicated and damaged your car. You want him to pay for the car's repairs. Mr. Penhollow says that he was in fact angry at you at some point, but there was no way that he damaged your car. When was the vandalism to your car noticed by you?
It was May 5th. It was Cinco de Mayo. And it was right after I came outside. He was outside, wouldn't leave until I came to talk to him.
Okay, where did this happen?
At a friend's house in Everett, Washington.
Were you still dating on May 5th?
No, this was like a month after we had broken up.
Now, I gather from your complaint that you were at the friend's house for a party.
Yes.
He was not invited.
No.
So
That's not true.
how many people were at the party?
Roughly 20 to 30.
And what time did you arrive there?
About 9:30.
In the evening?
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
2006 Scion TC.
Where did you park it?
It was on the street right outside of his house. He doesn't have a driveway.
But it was parked on the street. How far from the house?
Right in front of it.
Did the car have any damage when you parked it?
No. Brand new. I just had gotten it a couple months earlier.
Okay. Now, at 9:30 when you got to the party, Mr. Penhollow was not there.
Correct.
When did you arrive, sir?
It was a little after 2 in the morning.
And where had you been just prior to that?
I was at a bar a little south of where she was.
What time did you get to the bar?
I was at the bar at like 10 o'clock.
So from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. you were drinking?
Yes.
Now I'd like you to tell me, Mr. Penhallow, how it came about that at 2 o'clock in the morning you went over to the party, because that you acknowledge in your answer, that you went over to the party.
Yes, I definitely went over to the party.
How did you get there, sir? What prompted you to go over there? And I'd like you to look at me.
Okay.
Not at the sky. The sky will not give you any answers, sir.
All right. What happened was I found out from a mutual friend of ours, who is no longer a mutual friend, but that she had cheated on me when we were together.
And you found that out on May 5th?
Yes.
That night while you were drinking?
Yes.
At the bar?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody told you that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And of course that got me angered. Tried to call her.
What'd you try to call her for? You weren't together, according to you, for a couple of weeks, according to her for a month.
We're still friends, though. We were talking about almost every day. And so I found out where the party was, because I was invited earlier that night, until I had said something earlier when we talked to make her mad.
Well, what did you say?
I don't know. Some smart aleck comment.
Do you remember?
He called just belligerent, just angry, for no apparent reason. He had done this many times before.
You mean he called before 10 o'clock that night, before he left?
I don't know if it was before 10 o'clock. I think it was after I had been there for a couple hours. And
so he called you from the bar?
From his cell phone. I didn't
from
know
his cell
he
phone.
was
Well, he was at the bar from 10 to 2. You got to the party at 9:30, so in all probability he was drinking and commiserating with himself about how badly he felt that you were no longer together. So, Mr. Penhallow, now we have a situation where somebody has told you something that upset you about Miss Atkins.
Yes.
And you wanted to go over and confront her.
Of course.
And you did go, well, not of course.
Well, yeah.
Not of course.
I found this news out and I wanted it settled. So.
Why?
Why?
You think that it's a smart idea to settle a dispute, sir, at 2 o'clock in the morning after you've been drinking for 4 hours? You think that that's intelligent? Huh? You think that that's the optimum time to settle something and clear the air?
At the time.
Well, at the time, because your judgment is clouded because you were drinking for 4 hours, sir.
Possibly.
Not possibly. I mean, don't be foolish.
Yeah.
Good. That's what I like to hear. So now you go over to the party and it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And when you got there, what happened, Mr. Penhallow?
Well, I found out that she was downstairs. I walked in, went downstairs, said some pretty mean things.
Said some mean things?
Yes.
Now, were those things that you would ordinarily have said had you not been drinking?
Yeah, probably. I was that mad.
So that you were angry as usual, but clouded judgment impaired by alcohol?
Yes. So, I ended up getting kicked out of the party.
Okay, so you said some vile things to Miss Atkins in front of her friends, and who kicked you out of the party?
I guess it was the owner of the house. I don't know.
Did that make you feel better?
Not really.
Well, let me just a second. So now you're not feeling better than you were when you arrived, because you didn't get it all out of your system because you got kicked out of the party.
Yeah.
Who went over with you to the party?
No.
Oh, it's not an answer.
No one.
And how did you get there?
I took my roommate's car.
So you drove drunk?
Yes.
Okay. Did your roommate give you permission to take his car?
She did.
She did?
Yeah.
Where was she? Was she also drinking with you at the bar?
Yes.
And you said, give me the keys to your car, and she said, okay.
Yes.
Another genius. So where did you go, sir?
Where did I go? I went to the party.
And then you got kicked out. And what happened?
I got kicked out, and I was outside. And
what were you doing outside?
I was waiting, because I was talking to the person on the other side of the fence, because I wanted to talk to her. And so they finally came out, and I left.
Who finally came out?
She did, and she was all upset, and they're like, we don't want to talk to you. We don't, So I just basically gave them the finger and left.
Now, do you have photographs of your car?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. Do you have any witnesses who saw him around your car?
Yes. My friend
That would be this gentleman's right over here. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
My name is Krishnil Lingam.
You were at the party that night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what you saw.
Well, as I got out of the house, I went outside, and then I looked outside, and he was across the fence, and then he told me to call Shanna outside, and then told me that he damaged her car.
He told you?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said that I put a dent on her car.
Okay. Who do you think dented her car, Mr. Penhollow?
I have no idea.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Penhollow?
I'm a barista.
A what?
A barista.
What is that?
Coffee. I make coffee.
Is that what they call it? A barista?
So I understand.
What?
So I understand.
Did you know that before? A barista?
Yeah. I do crosswords.
Hmm?
I do crosswords.
I know.
Remember?
Do you want to be anything other than a barista, sir, when you grow up?
I want to actually own my own coffee shop.
Good. Coffee is better than booze, right?
It is.
Judged for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,575. Thank you very much. You may step out.
Parties are excused.
I found out she was cheating on me.
Kept having to bail him out of jail.
I don't know. I guess I just made her mad.
Possession of alcohol as a minor.
Let's-
I think he does have a problem with alcohol.
I don't know. She's crazy.
I'm glad it's done over. I'm very glad.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Laxon versus Laxon. Step forward, please.
Chris Laxon is suing her ex-husband, Henry Laxon, for vet bills he promised to pay when his cat Toes became ill. Henry says he wanted the cat euthanized.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Laxon. You mean you couldn't work this out? You had to come here?
Yes.
You two folks have been divorced for how long?
About 7 years.
And from what I read in the complaint and the answer, you have children together?
Yes. Yes.
You have shared custody of the children?
Yes.
That seems to work out fine.
Yes.
Perfect.
So that's a testament to your parenting and your ability to put the children's needs over your own.
Thank you.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Case is about the cat.
Yes.
Mr. Laxon, you had a cat for the children. How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, Your Honor.
How old are they?
Jonathan is 9 and Brittany is 8.
So 2 little kids. And I understand from the papers that they had had a cat previously that died.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did that cat die?
Well, that cat died probably not too long before this one did, probably about February. We got it from the neighbor downstairs. Unfortunately, it had been through some traumatic experiences previous to that. So it was just a matter of probably when, because the kid they were watching it actually drowned it, and they brought it back to life.
So it died in February.
Yes.
And you got another cat.
Yes.
That cat's name is?
This one's now named as Sugar.
And where did you get Sugar from?
We got her from the local pet shop.
When?
I would say about 2 to 3 months ago.
And then that cat got sick. Sugar got sick.
No, Sugar did not get sick, Your Honor. The one that got sick was actually Toes.
So that was a third cat.
Okay. Well,
Was
actually,
that a third cat? That was a third cat. So first you got one from a neighbor in February. That one died.
that is correct.
Then you got Sugar from a pet shop.
That was just recently.
I'm talking about the cat, sir, that is the subject of this case.
I understand, ma'am.
That's Toes.
Yes, Toes and Moonies, we got...
You got Toes after the first cat died.
No, actually, we got Toes before the first cat did.
So you had Toes, and then you got a second cat, and the second cat died.
Okay. No, Toes and Mooney, Your Honor, was the very first cat that we had. When I moved into the apartment, we didn't have any pets. So Toes and Mooney, I got as both kittens, okay? And they were doing really great. Then the neighbors downstairs was about to move. They couldn't take their cat with them. That was Mischief.
Mischief you took, and Mischief died.
Correct, Your Honor.
Oh, Mischief died. And then Toes got sick?
Toes got sick probably about a month later.
And when Toes got sick, your former wife took the cat to the vet.
Yes.
And it was very expensive vet bill. She believes you should be responsible for the vet bill. And your defense is you told her that you weren't paying for the vet bill and that you told her that she should have the cat put down. And she felt as if it was not a good idea to put the cat down since the children had already lost one pet within a relatively short period of time. She now has Toes.
Yes.
And the children didn't go through the death of another pet.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, when did Toes become ill, Mr. Laxon?
I came home on a Monday night after work and picking up the kids from school, and I saw him laying on the floor very still by the refrigerator, and I, nudged him a little bit with my foot. You okay, kitty? Okay? And then I bent over.
How old was he?
Toes was probably only about 3.5 years old.
What did you do?
Well, when I bent down to rub him a little bit, make sure he was okay, I could see he was breathing. He opened up his eyes. I didn't move him, so right away, because Chris had worked with animals before, and I know she's pretty good authoritarian on cats, I called her up on the cell phone, and she called me back from work, and I said, can you please come over and look at him? I think he's dying. And she did. And then I said I'd watch the kids, and she would take him to the vet. I said, please have him put down.
Why would you say that, Mr. Laxon? So far, up until now, quite frankly, I'm crazy about you. But why would you, before you even found out what was wrong with the cat, tell them to put the cat down? Maybe it just had indigestion.
Well, Honor, I've worked around animals a lot, being from the Midwest and Iowa, and that. My cousin had a farm. I've never seen a cat or an animal like that being that sick, and knowing that the veterinarian bill would be rather expensive. We had a cat like that together in our marriage. He ended up being about $900.
But wasn't this cat part of your family? Lived indoors?
Yes, Your
It was
Honor.
with your children?
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Laxon, how do you explain that to your children?
Well, Your Honor, I realized that it was a very hard thing to do, a decision that had to be made.
Even before you knew what the vet said, you told her to put the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor.
You better hope that your children don't take the same approach with you when you get older. And they
Your
say,
Honor.
listen, I love my father and I love my mother, but, my mother took good care of me. She took good care of my cat. She spent whatever was necessary to take care of the cat. My father, on the other hand, said, listen, you're part of the family, we'll get another one. Put him down.
Well, Your Honor, I realized that being that expensive, the most important thing to me was always provide for my children first. $900 could go easy for clothes, food, a college fund, or, maybe even a couple more toys. I mean, another cat would actually be more cost effective. I do love animals very much. I love toes.
Mr. Laxon, what you're saying is you can have an animal in your house for a substantial period of time, have an animal part of your household, and if it gets sick or if it requires expensive shots or something, you just say, listen, let's put this one down and get a new one, because I can use that money instead to pay for your college or to buy an extra pair of jeans or something. Why would I spend that on an animal that I can replace for nothing? Is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Laxon? That's what I'm hearing, sir.
I understand you're saying that. You can never replace love on an animal.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Laxon, and I guarantee you, if you gave your children the choice of whether they got an extra toy or whether their cat was given the medical assistance they needed, your children would say, take care of Toes.
That is correct. Unfortunately, being as young as they are, they don't always understand the necessary things it is to be an adult and make important decisions to run a household.
Well, I'm talking to you about making a decision that I believe is in the best emotional welfare of your children. Children can get along without another toy. They can even get along, without an additional jacket, or they can get along without expensive sneakers. But it takes a while for them to get over the loss of a pet, especially when they're aware of the fact that the pet could have been saved with money, even money that you may have to pay over a long period of time. I want to tell you something, Mr. Laxon. You're gathering from what I'm saying, sir, that you don't have my sympathy.
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. Okay, so you took the cat to the vet. And what happened, Mrs. Laxon?
Well, I originally met Henry and the children at the golf lessons, and he told me off to the side that the cat was laying on the floor dying. So I said, I'll come over to your house, because if it's dead, the kids won't be able to handle it, and I'll take care of the kids. I got there, the cat was still breathing, and I said, I'll take him to the vet. I have an open credit card. If you'll pay my credit card bill back, I'll be happy with that. It's a zero balance. I won't charge anything else to it. He said, okay. So I took my daughter, who was 7 at the time, with me to the vet. She waited while they took the cat. I called Henry and said, they're doing these tests on it. It's going to be about $300 for the tests. He said, okay. About 10, 15 minutes later, they came back with the x-rays, the blood results, and they said, this is what's wrong with the cat.
What was wrong with the cat?
He had kidney problems, kidney infection. They weren't sure at first whether it was stones or kidney failure. He had blood in his kidneys, so they had to catheterize him. He was in the hospital for 5 days. Actually, he was in for 7 days. But I called him back and I said, this is going to run this much. It's going to be over $1,000 for the whole thing. What do you want me to do? He said, go ahead, we've already gone this far. I said, okay. So they took the cat. I took my daughter back to his house, picked up my son, and we left. The next day, my understanding, Henry went down and visited the cats at the hospital. On Thursday, he called the vet. And on Friday, I went to pick up the children from his house. I said, how's the cat? Let me see him. He says, well, you should have put the cat down. I told you to do that. It's your bill. You're stuck with it. If you want the cat, he's at the vet still. I said, that was never our agreement. I took our daughter with us. I would never kill a cat with my daughter in the room. He said, well, it's your problem. So I called the vet. I picked the cat up on the Sunday. He's now home with me. He's had medical treatments. He's doing very well. He's 14 pounds, and he just loves us to death. He's like a little puppy.
How many cats do you have in your house now, Mr. Laxon?
I have 2, Your Honor.
And you?
I have 4 now. Mine are very old, 15 years old.
Is it true, Mr. Laxon, that your former wife took your daughter with her to the vet?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct.
Were you there when she took your daughter to the vet?
I was at the house when she took the daughter to the vet, yes, Your Honor.
And you want me to believe that she took the cat to the vet with your daughter there and they were going there for the purpose of putting the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor, because that's what I had instructed her to do.
Okay. when she came back, Mr. Laxon, and you found out that she had not put the cat down, and it was your cat, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pick up the phone and call the vet and tell the vet to put the cat down?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Why not, Mr. Laxon?
Because I depended on Chris to do that.
No. Listen, you just said to me, sometimes when you're a parent, you have to make hard decisions. And even though your children don't understand those hard decisions, that's what you have to do as a parent. So here, you gave an instruction to your former wife to put the cat down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Something that you could have done.
That's true.
Same way, you take your daughter and go to the vet and put the cat down. It's your cat, right?
You're right, Your Honor.
But you gave the cat to your wife with your instruction, according to you. Now, the same day you found out that this is not what she's going to do, you had two options. Either you let her go ahead with it, or you call the vet and say, this is my cat, and I'm giving you an instruction to put the cat down. You chose not to do that. You pay the bill. How much is the bill?
The total bill was $1231.96.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, actually, I really think it was a bad choice on her part. This actually allows people to now raise bills on your case and then turn around and put you with the bill.
I'm pleased with it. She saw the honesty in me, and she saw that he wasn't telling the truth, and she saw that it was all about the children, really, more than anything else.
I think there was probably a little bit more involved. Before in the past, when I got child custody from her, she always said someday she'd try to get the money back, and I think this is her way to try.
Our custody is 50-50. I'm very happy with the way things are, and I thought he was too.
Life does happen like this. Animals get sick and die. There's nothing you can really do about it.
2189, Hernandez versus Vieira. All parties, please step forward.
Sophia Hernandez is suing her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, for vet bills after her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Mm-hmm. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
Was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in perfectly fine shape.
Yes.
She looked very sweet.
Thank you.
So what happened when she dropped the puppy off at your house? I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister, and you saw what happened with the dog. Yes. Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
Sophia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery on the dog's leg, which was broken, while in your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Miss Hernandez brought Dolce to our house. We took her in, and we had also another dog.
I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so once you took her into your daughter's room, she was alone with the puppy?
No, all 3 of us were in the room. What we like to do is
No, I don't want you to tell me what you like to do. Okay. I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second. Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. You weren't watching. You don't know what happened. If you were taking pictures that would be on your camera.
I have pictures here of Dolce that I was actually sending to
No,
Ms.
I don't
Hernandez?
care. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think. Yeah, I don't think so. But it's your choice. Let's go. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe. That you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister, and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of this courtroom. So if you were taking pictures, Abigail would be in those pictures.
Your Honor, I actually have a picture of her leg after I was bit by Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog. Your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you thought it would be cute. Your 10-year-old wanted to play with her. That's what happened. Can I see the vet bill, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that you could take on at the time.
I was in the room with the dog. The dog jumped from the floor, and it was a freak accident. But
my dog was healthy, you know. She had just been at the vet. She's gotten her shots. She was healthy.
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but she's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out.
She had a fractured leg.
Freak accident. Kind of feel like, I don't know, it wasn't fair.
They didn't give me one. They just ignored my messages asking for payment.
I'm glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but
no, but it was negligent.
Sure,
because if you allow a
negligence per se.
10-year-old,
if a dog breaks a leg, it doesn't break it on its own. Yeah,
it's your fault.
Courtney Friend is suing her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., for stealing money from her deceased husband's bank account.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2190, Friend versus Ivy Jr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Friend, your husband passed away recently.
Yes.
When did he pass?
August 26, 2022.
What did he pass away from?
He took his own life.
You have kids?
I have one. I have a daughter. She's 7 months old. She was born June 14th, 2022.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It is your claim that Mr. Ivan, after your husband's death, withdrew money from your husband's bank account. Was that a joint bank account or his own bank account?
It was under his, but
So it was his.
Yes.
So it was his bank account.
It was.
Did you also have a joint bank account?
We just shared that one. I wasn't working, and I'm not working. He is sole provider of our family.
So the bank account was in his name solely?
Yes.
How do you know the defendant?
We met in 2020. We worked together at Target, and that's my husband and I, and also the defendant.
So you worked there?
Yes.
Did you become social friends?
Yes.
And at some point, Mr. Ivan says that your husband needed money, that he was in some sort of difficulty with rent money.
Okay.
That's what Mr. Ivan says. In what month, Mr. Ivan, do you claim that you loaned money to Mr. Friend?
Mr. Whalen is his name.
Whalen.
Yeah. Michael and I are best friends from the day that we met, by the way. Just hit it off right away. So this gentleman would come to me and vice versa.
Just tell me.
The money we're talking about, August 17th, 2022.
And was the conversation about the money in your house?
Yes.
In your house?
Yes.
I'd like you to tell me what that conversation was.
Absolutely. Michael showed up at my door on August 17th. He needed money, and he needed away from the plaintiff.
Just a second.
Uh-huh.
Don't tell me what he needed. Tell me what he said to you.
His rent is very far behind, and he would like to borrow $1,500.
Did you ask him why?
Of course.
And what did he say?
Rent.
No. Why his rent was so far behind?
Oh, not exactly. He stayed with me for the next 2 days, so we had a lot of conversation about it.
Okay. So when he came on August 17th, he did not stay home with his wife and the new baby. He stayed with you for how many days?
For 2 that week.
You and your husband been having a difficult time?
We were the last couple weeks before his ending.
And he did, in fact, stay out. Did you know where he was staying?
No, I did not.
Okay, but you knew he was out?
Yes, I had asked him to leave.
Okay. Now, his rent in his house where his wife and his baby was overdue.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he needed $1,500 according to you, so what did you do?
I gave him the $1,500.
Mrs. Friend, in June, July, August, was your husband working?
Yes.
Same job?
He was working with Burlington, so yes.
Did your husband have any problems that you know of with either drugs or gambling?
I didn't know at the time.
But do you know now? Yes. What kind of problems did he have?
He was struggling with use of cocaine.
Okay. So that would account for his need for money and also for problems. Okay. Your husband was a young man. Did he have any life insurance?
He did, yes.
He did. How much?
It was, oh my goodness, it was $200,000.
Did the company pay on his life insurance? No, because he committed suicide?
Oh, it wasn't that. It was he had lapsed his payment. So I think his last payment was, I believe, in May, and he did not pay it. So because of that, they did not.
It lapsed?
Yeah.
It might not have been effective anyway since he took his own life. Okay, so you lent him $1,500. And how did you repay yourself and when?
Your Honor, I'd like to point out that she was very well aware of the fact that he was using cocaine for the better part of the year.
Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. Ivan, not necessary.
Okay. I repeat myself because that was our agreement. Michael was at my house a week later also. He logged onto my phone because he no longer had any belongings. He no longer had a physical wallet or a phone in his possession. He lost them. Miss Friend had his wallet, but I can show you that later. For now, he's asking me if he can put his memorized information on my digital wallet, which I can show you now if you'd like.
Yes.
It's still on my phone to this day.
His information.
Correct.
Okay.
With the agreement.
Just a second. I could understand you taking back the $1,500 because you say that was his agreement with you, as was sort of buttressed by the fact that he put his banking information on the card. But why would you transfer any other money other than the $1,500 out of his account?
Courtney Friend claims her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., wrongfully took money from her deceased husband's bank account.
I want you to bring that up.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you're going to take a look at that?
It's the top card, sir. The one that says Chime. That's my digital wallet, my personal digital wallet.
So it's the same as when you put something in your Apple Wallet and you can pay using, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to describe this to you. If you log in to check your bank balance, you can save the card to your phone, so it makes it easier to pay with your phone. So it looks as if Mr. Friend logged in to the defendant's phone with his credentials and information.
So that
There's also latest transactions. The very last transaction was from 10/1/22.
And how much was that for?
$80 at a market. Then there's some gas stations.
That's for October. Prior to that.
There's a list of just latest transactions.
That's all those are the total transactions.
Yeah.
That you made?
Well,
just a second. There's an $80 transaction, according to Sarah, in October.
Yes, ma'am. So the way
was that your transaction?
It was.
Okay.
I have.
Well, just.
I'm sure they'll match with whatever.
$236 worth of charges. I charged $236 worth of
from
charges.
my husband's passing till.
Hold on. Hold. Well, I have $80 in October, but in transfer to, who is that?
That is
$1,400.
That is the deceased.
Who transferred that?
I transferred it. That is a GoFundMe account, and we'll get to this. The check that came through after he passed away hit my phone because he loaded his card onto my phone. The agreement was that I pay myself back when he was still alive with the funds that are on that phone.
Just a second.
The remaining I sent to a GoFundMe account.
Why did you do that? Just a second. I can almost understand Mr. Ivan.
Yeah.
Because what your position is, and I actually believe that it's accurate that your friend came to you.
100%.
That your friend came to you in need of money, that he and his wife were having difficulty, that he had an addiction problem, that he probably spent the rent money on his addiction problem. All of that sort of makes sense. And even though resorting to self-help after he passed, I would frown on. I would say this is a debt that's owed by his estate. And I could understand you, who had access to his account, taking back the $1,500 because you say that was his agreement with you, as was sort of buttressed by the fact that he put his banking information, and it's his sole banking information, on the card. But why would you transfer any other money other than the $1,500 out of his account?
Into his family's name, Your Honor, and I can show you why. I have transcripts with everyone that knows us. I could have a dozen people here. I'm sorry. I could have a dozen people here with me to make this claim, but this is a very sensitive situation for a lot of people involved. So I'm going to fight this fight on my own without them here.
Just a second.
And they will all tell you that this is the last person on earth that should have that money.
Just a second. This is not about you making a judgment or about 30 other people making
That's what Michael asked me to do.
Just a second. Sir, unless you have a writing from the deceased that's authenticated in the same process as would authenticate a will, you have no right to make that judgment as to whether or not his wife and or child, I assume he died without a will, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So under the laws of practically every state, if you die intestate, which means you die without a will, there's a certain order of people who inherit your money. Your spouse, your children. It goes sort of in order. There's a pecking order. You have no right to amend that. You actually don't even have a right to repay yourself after he's dead. You have no right to do that. But I can actually understand your sense that unless you paid yourself, you weren't going to get your money back. I can understand that. But whatever your intentions were, sir, you have no right to do anything else with the money in that bank account.
May I?
Am I making myself clear? I hope so. Is that clear? Yeah.
Brought me right back to Will's Trust and Estates. So.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Your Honor, Michael and I had an agreement, okay? So whether or not he...
Sure, just a second. You and Michael had an agreement that you made a loan to him in the amount of $1,500, and in order to secure your repayment, I read your answer, sir.
Yeah.
He gave you his account number, and according to you, he said, when I get paid, you can take the money back that you loaned to me. That's $1,500.
May I continue? I've only used $236. That's all that I've used. $236, and I can show you the math here on this spreadsheet, but let's start with $1,500. $845 he paid back to me on August 24th, a week later.
Oh, okay, hold on a second. So $1,500.
That's right.
And he paid you back what?
$845 on August 24th.
Good for him.
Right.
Did he pay you back by Michael? Just listen to me. Don't play. Did he pay you back by coming to your house and giving you the money? Or
digitally.
Did he, shh. He paid you back digitally.
That's right.
May I see that, please, Kevin?
Using my phone in his account.
Shh. So now he owes you $655.
That's right.
Okay. Kevin, I'd like you to show this to the plaintiff. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, I'd like to show this to the plaintiff. So Mr. Ivan acknowledges that your husband, Ms. Friend, pay attention, that your husband paid him back more than half of what he had borrowed. Now, then you took back, Mr. Ivan, from the account, how much money?
$236.
No, that's not true.
Shh.
We can go line by line.
Shh.
That's a debit, not a credit.
He sent the $1,400 from Michael's
to the
account.
Just a second. You can't do that, sir.
I have a baby.
Listen to me. You were there. You provided a shelter for Michael.
To get away from her. That's right. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Courtney Friend has accused her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., of stealing money from her deceased husband's bank account.
Which of these charges? There's an $80 charge, a $60. Are those your charges?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
$140.
Just a second. $145.
Yes.
A $77.35.
Yes, and that's it. Those four.
What about Cash App?
That's the digital transaction that you just had.
Oh, an $845. Got it.
I'm still owed $392.
Okay. Now, how much money do you allege, and I'm going to give this to you, or give you, you must have this. How much money do you allege that he took out of the account?
I'm asking for $2,700.
I don't care what you're asking for. That's irrelevant to me what you're asking for. Okay. How much money do you allege he took out of the account?
I think he took way more than what he's saying.
Oh, well, I don't care what you think.
It's proof right there.
I don't. Other than the $1,400, which he says he transferred to the GoFundMe page, did you receive for your daughter any part of this $1,400 that came from a GoFundMe page?
I have not, no.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. But the GoFundMe page was subsequent to your husband's death. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who started the GoFundMe page?
It was my husband's.
So this money did not belong to your husband. This money was not money from your husband. This money was started by somebody else, not the defendant, and somehow ended up in your husband's bank account. Am I getting that right?
No.
Well, what's this 14? How did it end
I
up?
transferred it from, that's Michael's bank account ledger that's attached to my digital wallet.
I understand.
And it's going to the GoFundMe. A GoFundMe is a special account that's set up in a tragic, or well, not necessarily.
I know exactly what it is, but what I'm not following is why would it not be in this?
It is. He's saying that is a to, not a receiving.
That's a debit, not a credit.
He sent the $1,400 from Michael's
to the
account.
Just a second. Oh, you can't do that. Sorry, sir. You can't do that. So you took out money that didn't belong to you because at best case scenario, you're still owed $400.
$392.
Yeah, okay, $400. You were still owed $400, and you withdrew $1,400 of Michael's money and sent it to the GoFundMe page.
Yeah, because of the fact that the last person on earth that Michael would want to have that money is this person right
That's not your judgment to make, sir.
That's fine.
Just a second. That's not, listen to me. I tried to explain to you what the laws of intestacy are in this country. If you die without a will, there are certain people who get your money, whether the deceased hates them, wasn't talking to them, it doesn't make any difference unless he and his wife are separated by a lawful separation order by the court. She and his daughter are entitled to this money, and it's not up to his best friend or his best friend's friends or other people to say he was angry with her, she threw him out. Whatever the reason that you're saying Michael would want the last person to receive any money from this GoFundMe page is the plaintiff, that's not your decision to make. You took back some of your own money. He paid you back some. You may get skunked for $400.
I don't want it.
Just a second. You may get skunked for $400. But if you sent this money to a GoFundMe page and that was $1,400
for the family's name, Your Honor,
you can't do that.
That's fine. I did it because Michael would not want her to have it, so I gave it to his family.
Okay. Well, you can't do that, sir.
I have a baby.
I'm not faulting you emotionally, sir.
Yeah.
Listen to me. You were there. You provided a shelter for Michael
to get away
when he was.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'll stop. That's a fact. It's just the truth.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
It doesn't matter. The woman's a fraud. She's a fraud. That money should not be going to her. She's the last person on earth that this gentleman wanted to have that money.
I'm happy. I'm happy that she sided with me, listened to me, and...
Oh, that's all she cares about is money. That's what this is all about.
Knew that was not right, because it's not. I mean, what kind of person would...
Courtney's out for money. Always was in the relationship.
Take money from a new mom, someone who's grieving. It's been such a mess, and I feel good about this.
Because I'm the only one who would do the right thing with it, and he knew that.
He was very defensive. He was very defensive and very hateful.
I'm the great guy. He'd want me to fight the good fight. All good.
He shouldn't have took anything from me. I've already lost so much.
Happy it's over.
I've lost my best friend, my husband, the love of my life, and the father of our new child. It's not okay. He caught me in a very vulnerable state.
That case, for as tragic as it was, and I really felt for the plaintiff, brought me right back to wills, trust, and estates, and the basic, 3 rules: age of majority, of sound mind, and a writing. And it's just really unfortunate that the plaintiff's husband didn't have one.
If I were to venture a guess, I would say that most people, when they're under 40, don't have a will.
Yeah.
He was a new father, baby.
Makes it all that much more important.
Yeah, it does. But he was a new father with a cocaine addiction.
Yeah. Tough to try and guess the mental state of someone going through that. But I also agreed with you that you can't fault the defendant for his emotional. He knew how his friend felt, and he was trying to carry out those wishes. But there is the law and there are rules, and you can't take it upon yourself to redistribute your friend's money.
Or the GoFundMe money.
Yes.
Yeah.
All good intention, but you got to follow the rules.
Kamar Jalil is suing his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno for rent and the cost of 2 cats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 2170, Jolie versus Calderon Nepomuceno.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, my goodness. Calderon.
Hello.
What's your first name?
Amante.
Amante.
Yeah.
Good. It's much easier than your last name for me to pronounce. Mr. Giulio, this roughly is what the case is about. You and Miss Calderon were in a relationship for a period of time. You decided to take an apartment. You were both on the lease. So far, correct?
Correct.
Your arrangement with Miss Calderon, which seems to be consistent in both your complaint and your answer, is that you had a much better paying job. She was going to provide the food and some other stuff for the house, and you were going to be covering the rent when you lived together, which you did.
Correct.
There came a time when Amante, who was a friend of yours, came to live with you. According to you, he was going to help out with the rent.
Correct.
He came, he lived with you, he helped out with the rent for maybe a period of time, and then he helped himself to your girlfriend.
Correct.
Now they're a couple. When you were no longer a couple with Miss Calderon, she stayed in the apartment for a period of time, but then they both left.
Correct.
And you're suing both of them for rent and for the return of 2 cats that they took when they left. You claim the cats are yours.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. And some cat expenses in the event that I let them keep the cat. Cats. 2 cats. So when did you and Miss Calderon sign a lease together?
We signed the lease together at the end of July with the landlord present.
July of 2022?
July of 2021. Correct.
And it was for a year?
Correct.
And you had a job working for whom, sir?
I worked for a company called Steris.
What do they do?
They provide medical equipment to hospitals all over the world.
How long have you been working for them?
I'm going to have 8 years under my belt this year.
And when you moved into the apartment in July of 2021, what kind of work was Miss Calderon doing?
At the time, she was working at an animal hotel.
It was a pet daycare boarding facility.
Okay. Were you an hourly employee?
I was an hourly employee.
And I am correct that when you moved in July, your arrangement was that you were going to pay the rent.
That was
the arrangement.
Correct.
When did Armante come to live with you?
About August to...
That's
right.
Correct.
Shh.
He...
Just...
Amante was going to be our 3rd roommate.
You mean 1, 2, 3?
Correct.
Well, you're not roommates, really. You and the defendant, Miss Calderon, were not roommates. You shared a room.
We shared a room and...
And Armante was going to live where?
In another room.
And what was your arrangement with Armante with regard to paying rent?
We would split the rent 3 ways.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
I would say approximately $927.
How long did you live there?
I was there when they signed the lease. I watched it all happen when they signed the lease. I came in, they signed everything.
Well, you didn't sign the lease.
I did not.
But you were there from the beginning?
Yes.
And it was your agreement with the plaintiff that you would pay 1/3 of the rent?
Yes.
Great.
We asked the landlord
Okay, so, hey, try not to hold each other's hands. Let's do the coochie someplace else. So you agreed with the plaintiff that despite the fact that you were not on the lease, you were going to assume the responsibility of 1/3 of the rent, $927.
Yes.
So you moved in July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. You left in April?
Yeah.
So you were there for 9 months?
Yes.
Did you pay rent for the 9 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
He paid rent for about the 7.5 months.
Okay. And then you left?
Yes.
Why did you leave?
I decided to leave because he decided to go to another place he was offered. So
what do you mean he decided to go to another place?
He
that was...
got a place from his grandparents in another city. So I couldn't hold down the rent with her. So I decided to leave to save money and go back to my parents' house.
Now, Mr. Jalil, you see, you don't make up a story like that, like he just told me. A lot of that has the ring of truth to it. Where are you living now?
My grandparents' house in an in-law unit.
So when did you tell them that you were going to a different place?
In March.
When did you leave?
I left in July.
Did you let him know that you were staying until the end of the lease?
I
what?
I discussed with them that I would be leaving, but I would stick around to help them find either a different location or even suggesting that we all went back to our respected families just to, call it.
Mr. Giulio, this isn't working for you. I have to tell you something, sir. This case is not working for you at all. And it's only because Mr. Amante is very direct with me that you're suing them for $10,000. Where does that come from in your mind? Your agreement with her was you were going to pay the rent. You were never out of pocket. Your agreement was you were going to pay the rent. He paid his rent when he was there. He paid his 1/3. You then told them you were leaving. That's a whole different story than what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Giulio. Do you understand?
Correct.
It's a whole different story. So, at best, Armante would owe you for 3 months' rent if they just left. But you told them that you were leaving. Now, when did you find out that they were a couple?
I found out at the end of April.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
So you just had 2 months left to the lease. So he was paying you. He paid you in March. You had May, June. You signed the lease in July. So it was over at the end of June, June 30th.
It would have been over at the end of July, Your Honor.
Well, she doesn't owe you any money for rent. At most, he owes you 2 months' rent. Tell me why you left.
My job doesn't pay that well, so I decided to go back to my parents' house.
When you took this apartment, this expensive apartment that was almost $3,000 a month rent, had you had a discussion with Armante about moving in with you before?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Giulio, I'm reading your complaint because something wasn't registering right with me. You say you moved into the apartment together in August of 2021. Then you go through a whole bunch of stuff about a cat and then another adopted cat. You said in October we adopted a second cat. Around this same time, a third roommate moved in to shoulder some of the rent. Well, that's not true. He moved in right at the beginning.
And that was...
that was what?
That was...
a mistake.
That was a mistake.
Okay. But Armante acknowledges that he agreed right at the beginning. He volunteered the fact that he was there at the lease signing because it was agreed at the lease signing that he was going to pay a third of the rent. So, sir, you owe him rent as long as you show me that you've paid the rent. You moved out in July?
Yes.
And you paid your rent through July, or were you evicted?
No, I paid my rent in July.
Through July?
Yes.
Okay. 1854. Armante, you owe him $1,854. That's for 2 months' rent. Got it? Okay. I'm not subtracting anything because you stole his girlfriend.
That's fair.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case?
Either the return of both cats or $5,000.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Giulio.
Kamar Jalil claims his former roommates, Katie Calderon and Amante Nepomuceno, are wrongfully keeping his cats and owe him rent money.
Now let's deal with the issue with the cats. She doesn't owe you any rent. That was not your agreement with her. You moved out in July. August, September, October, November, December. 5 months ago, she's had both cats, right?
Correct.
She says they're her cats. When did you first file a small claims case?
September of 2022.
What were you requesting when you filed your small claims case? Be careful.
I was requesting either the return of both cats or $5,000, which was the accumulated expense of not just the cats, but also the expenses of her dogs as well. So any animal expenses for the time.
That's not happening for you, Mr. Giulio. When the cats were either registered or went to the vet, whose name is on the sheet as owner?
I believe it was Miss Calderon.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And she owns the cats, and she's had them for the last 5 months. I suggest that you go and adopt 2 more if you want some more cats. Do you understand?
Yes.
You were living together as a couple. However, your friend Armante has to pay you for the couple of months' rent that he didn't because he says, not you, he volunteered that was your agreement from the very beginning. So he owes you $1,854. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think he's just kind of butthurt that I moved on.
At least now I can put everything behind me and say that I did try.
I didn't think it would escalate this far.
All you can do in a situation like this is just you learn from it and you move on.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
This is what it is. It's life.
I find fascinating, Sarah, that people will write and or be assisted in writing a complaint and an answer, but they read it over. This man is an intelligent man. He has a serious job for 8 years. First of all, he was suing for $10,000. Come up with that money. $5,000 for the cat's expenses, ridiculous. But his complaint had really nothing to, even the timeline.
As your clerk, I know that is a pet peeve of yours when
I don't understand.
they don't match up.
If you're going to tell a lie,
at least tell a consistent lie.
Right.
I think the right thing happened. I think the defendant friend admitted himself that he owed the rent, and that was great, even though he probably should have just kept his mouth shut.
Had not said, I was there when the lease was signed. This was always our agreement.
Yeah.
I was going to be the
but
third.
He was honest, which we always appreciate, and so I think the right thing.
So
I think he needs to, like you say, put a period, move on.
Move on. Anyway, all happy, and they look happy. They couldn't keep their hands.
Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình sẽ cùng với mọi người tô màu cho bức tranh về nhân vật Bạch Tuyết nha. Các bạn cùng với mình sẽ tô màu nhé. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ tô màu cho chiếc sườn tóc của cái nơ. Thôi. Bây giờ mình sẽ tô mái tóc nha. Rồi. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ cùng với các bạn tô màu chiếc váy nha. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ tô màu cho phần gương mặt. Bức tranh của ngày hôm nay đã đi đến bước hoàn thiện rồi. Đây chính là bức tranh mà mình đã tô được. Cảm ơn mọi người đã cùng mình đón xem. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại ở những video tiếp theo của mình nha. Hello, tạm biệt.